Very well, so we know that the app is fine. We have done a lot of great work. Now we are going to deploy this to Firebase. Now, if we go back to, let's go to our book tracker here. And if we look at hosting, if you click there, this is inside of a Firebase. In this case here, you can see it says hosting, deploy web and mobile web apps in seconds using secure global content delivery network. So in this case, for our book tracker app, there's nothing we can get started, but we're not going to get started from here. We're going to do all of that using the command line. But if I go to my other app, which is the book tracker test, which is the one that we are running there. So this one here, and you can see this is indeed running, right? There is the URL, the default URL, the domain. And of course we have the usage. Once you start using the app or other people start using the app, it's going to give you all the information you need to know about the app usage. Okay. All right. Very well. So this is what we're going to be doing. Now let's go back to our book tracker app, which is the one we're creating. Doing all of that using CLI, which is command line interface. The first thing we'll have to do is to open our command line terminal, as it's called on Mac. Keep saying command line, but it's a terminal. And in this case here, make sure that we're inside our book tracker project. So I'm going to go ahead and say flutter run -d for debug, and I'm going to run this on release mode. So this will run on release mode, which means it's going to take the entire Flutter project. It's going to minify it and make it a little bit compact. That way we can run it and test to make sure that before we actually release to the public, this is running as we want it to run. Okay, so hit enter. It's going to take a few seconds to do all the work. Right, now we have a problem here because it's saying no devices found with name or ID matching that. So this is my fault. That means I missed one other command here, which is d Chrome, because we want to run on release mode where on Chrome. Okay, try again. Launching lib main.dart on Chrome in release mode. And once all of that is done, you can see this is going to happen. Now we are running on release mode. There it is. Very good. So let's sign in. Pretty fast. That's great. John, me. Sign in. Very good. Voila. Everything is still working fine. Let's say mark this as red. I'm going to change that to say really good book and update. Okay, it's gone. I can go to John here. We're going to see that that book indeed is there today. Very good. So everything is working as intended. We can go and search for another book. Let's say Firebase. Hit enter. See if there are any Firebase. There are a few. All right. That's all we need. And we're going to start reading that one. Of course, start reading. Give that at first. And there we go. All right, so it is working, and of course we can get out of there. We can even create a new account if we want to do so. Let's say leela@me.com, tester, create account. Okay, Leela is created. First time, there's really nothing. Leela hasn't started reading. Say Lala, and we're just gonna add a book real quick. And go back, and there we go. Leela will start reading this book right away because she's so eager to read. And there we go. And our reading list is now empty. So things are working perfectly. This on release mode. Now it's time for us to push this onto Firebase hosting. Now, how do we deploy to Firebase hosting? Very simple actually, but before I'm going to show you something. You can see that we have this other folder called build. So if you open that, there's a lot of information there. So all of the builds, whether for Mac OS or web, these are created here. If you open closely, this is what is created when we build for the web. So all of this is automatically created, right? So most of this code is actually minified to make it a little bit smaller and compact for the web, okay? So we are going to actually use this build, go to web, to get that information and pass using Firebase tools, the CLI in this case, to then push all of that information, all of this data, all of this folder to the web server, in this case the hosting, Firebase hosting, so that then the app can run there. But we're not there yet, so I'm going to quit out of this, delete that. Let's open a new one. Looks like to be hung up. I'm going to say Firebase init to initialize, in this case, the tools that we need. It may take a few seconds. All right. Now, this assumes that you already logged in as your name. So I'm Paulo, so I'm already logged in with Firebase and everything. If you have everything set up and not logged in to Google Firebase console, that is, it will ask you to do so, and you can do that and then come back. It should be all good. So it's very straightforward process, really. It shouldn't give you a lot of problems, assuming that you have set up CLI either on Windows, Mac, or on other operating system. Please refer to the link that I've shared with you where you can set that up. So I'm going to use the arrow down. I'm going to go to hosting. I'm going to space to select configure and deploy Firebase hosting sites. Hit enter. Then it's going to ask me, do I already have a project created? Yes, we do have a project created already. That's why we don't need to create any project. So the first one is fine. Hit enter. All right. And once we have selected a use existing project, it's going to give all the projects that you may have. Now, you may only have one or none. I'm going to go and get the project. In this case, it's going to be the book tracker app. Next, you're going to say, what do you want to use as your public directory? I'm going to open this again. The public directory is going to be inside of build and go down to web, because this is where everything is. So that's what we're going to say. So we're going to say build/web. It has to be exactly like that. Enter. And next is going to ask to configure as a single page app. Yes, that's exactly what I want to do by saying why. Set up automatic builds and deploys with GitHub. We're going to say no for now. And file build already exists. Overwrite. Yes, we're going to say let's overwrite all of that. And voila. So I'm going to say enter. I'm going to now say Firebase deploy. As such, hit enter. It should start the process of deploying our web app to Firebase hosting. Looks like there's a new Firebase tools. That's okay. We're not interested in that at this point. But what we're interested in is that it says here project console. There is our project console, and there's the hosting URL, which is this one. This is where our app lives. Copy that or do the same thing we did before. I'm just going to copy it, paste it all in, hit enter. Here is something strange you may encounter. Everything went well as far as we're concerned, yet nothing is happening. So we get this very nice welcome, Firebase hosting setup is complete, everything, but it's not showing our website. What's happening? So I did this on purpose because it's easy to miss one step. Yes, I know. The step that we missed was as followed. Well, earlier what we did is we went through this whole process using CLI to get everything from our build here, right? Go to our web and got all this information and push all of that to Firebase hosting. But the problem is that the index file that is inside of a build is not the same as the index file that we have here, in a sense that there is this discrepancy. So in the back end, when this all is sent, Firebase is not able to find that index.html that is inside of the build, which will have the information we want, because, yes, you guessed it, we actually didn't build before we push anything, which means this build, these files that we have inside of build, web.build, inside of this build folder, I should say, this is not the correct one, because even though we have all the information here, because we actually haven't built so that Flutter runs all of the code behind and connects everything with Firebase and does all the work it needs to do to actually have a build which can be post or sent here. Okay, that's very important. So we're going to redo this, and I'm doing this because I want you to see how all of this works, because these missteps may give you a lot of headache. It's important to know that there are errors that may happen or things that may not happen. As you see right now, we just get this and we have no idea what's going on. Okay, so we missed a step, which means I'm going to close this. Back down here, I'm going to say clear to clear everything, start over. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this command, say flutter build web. This is important step. We said earlier the flutter run d chrome release, and that is what we had, and that's not enough. That was just enough for us to look at things and make sure that everything is ready. But then when we're ready to push this app to the Firebase hosting, then we need to do flutter build web, because then you'll see what's going to happen is going to create this new build folder. Is going to refresh all of this inside and recreate all of the necessary files in there. All right, so then you will see that everything is compiled right. We are back there. So this is now the time that we're going to go back. I'm going to say clear. I'm going to say Firebase init again. Yes, I know. Just to go through the process. All right, so I'm going to go to hosting. The directory at this point, notice that it's already found the Firebase RC has been default project. Everything is good. We don't have to go through the process of choosing the project because it knows exactly that the project is already selected. So now we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to use the build /web. So we're going to go to build to the web, and this web now should have at least the last build information, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to say build /web, hit enter, and configure as a single page. Yes, indeed. No. And the file build override, we're going to say no. As such, hit enter. Everything is now went ahead and did what it needs to do. Okay, now we're ready. I'm going to say Firebase deploy. As such, okay, very good. So now that we have that, let's go close that down. Okay, let's go directly to this one here, command. Hopefully this time things will work. And if you refresh, after a few seconds, you can see, voila, we are in business. It is working. This is exactly our new app that we deployed. If I try to go to main, it should give me enter email. Very good. I'm going to say john@me.com tester. Let's say sign in. And we're signing in because we're still using the same user database. Everything is the same, just that now we are live. In fact, you can take this link, your link in this case, and send it to your grandma. She will be able to log in, assuming that she knows how to use computers. Nothing against grandma. But anyway, this is working. Everything is working. I can come here and say mark as read, and give it 5. And I'm going to say, well, it's all done now. I'm going to go ahead and update, and that book is no longer there. We should see that the book should have been added here. Okay, the counting is working. We can add more books because this person is very nerdy. Let's look for Paulo Coelho. Okay, The Alchemist, Alchemista. Let's save this. There we go. There's the book. I'm going to start reading. And also just give it 3.5 update, and there we go. And you can see also it goes and puts the book that we started in the front, which is exactly what we want. All right, it is working. Everything is working. If I want to delete perhaps a few of these books, I decided that I'm too smart for them, I can go ahead and delete. Yes, goodbye, and voila. I can go ahead and get out, create a new account. Let's say lopes@me.com and create account. And there we go. Lopes can of course go ahead and add books, la la, something like this maybe. That's more appropriate. Let's save, and we can continue, start reading, update, and things are working perfectly. There you have it. The book tracker app indeed is working, and you can see it even has that nice icon which we added. It has a favicon. So it's pretty much the same as this other one that I've been showing you earlier. And voila, ladies and gentlemen, good job. Good job indeed. Congratulations. And I'm so glad that you were here, and thank you. Now, again, if you are running into issues, make sure to follow the CLI, the Firebase tools, the process of installing that, which will allow us to do this. Okay, this is, I think, very important to remember. And remember the process. First, you must run Flutter build web in order for our build folder to actually have the build app, web app, which is going to be sent to the Firebase host. Very important. Otherwise, you're going to have that unwelcome message that I showed you.